we've now qualified our leads, we found these new customers. Now, how do we approach them? In simple terms, how do we make an appointment? Now, for many people, this comes easily. Pick up the phone and make an appointment. For a lot of people, this is a daunting task. Cold calling is not easy. As in anything in life, you have to plan. You have to think about it. You have to make sure you do it correctly, and then you'll be a lot more successful. A sales call is a negotiation, and planning that sales call and making an appointment is the beginning of the negotiation. So in textbooks, they often call it the pre-approach. So when you go through the notes and you see the pre-approach, in simple terms, it's just making the calls and doing the work to make the appointment. Failing to plan is planning to fail. We've all heard that, and it is no truer than in this step. If you just pitch at somebody's doorstep, you don't have a plan, you don't know what you're going to say, you don't know what you're going to do, and guess what? That person knows it. They feel it, they know it, and it will end up in an unsuccessful sale. So plan your call. How do you make the appointment? Again, do you just pick up the phone and make the appointment? No. And do you phone? Do you email? In my industry, one of my client groups are restaurateurs, and they are notorious for not answering their emails. You can send hundreds of emails and they don't answer their emails. So how do you make the appointment? You've got to find a way to get through to them. In your industry, again, you have to know how to make an appointment. You've got to find that sweet spot, how you'll get through to your prospects. So that is the first thing, is finding the way to get through to them. The second thing is making the appointment with the right person. Go back to the previous chapter when we said the person with the authority, the person with the will, the person with the means. Make sure you get the right person and make the appointment with them. And make the appointment at the correct time. Again, I've been to some talks where people have said, make an appointment at a time that suits the person. Now, depending on the industry, if I sell to restaurateurs and they only open their restaurant at 6 o'clock at night, do I expect him to see me at 9 o'clock in the morning? No, he's not prepared to see me at 9 o'clock in the morning because he's still sleeping. So if he's that important to me, I will have to see him at 6 o'clock at night. So making the appointment at the right time is very important. Selling is about the right time, the right place, the right person. Everything has to be right. It's not what you want, it's what the client wants. And if it is as simple as reminding you it's what the client wants, then it is as simple as reminding you what the client wants. And schedule it accordingly. Just a little tip. People who make appointments are serious, and people who keep appointments are serious. And your customers will get to appreciate that. They will expect you, and they will take you more seriously. Therefore, they will be more serious, and you'll have a better chance of closing the deal. If you've made an appointment at a time that suits them, they'll be in a better frame of mind to receive you, and they will be in a better frame of mind to receive your message. And therefore, you will have a far better chance of closing the deal. The word that's in the notes is commitment. I like that word. Commitment from you as a salesperson shows you've planned, shows you've thought about it, shows you've done the research on the customer or the prospect, shows you've thought about the time, all of that. It's commitment, taking yourself seriously. I just also want to read a couple of things that they've put in the notes. It builds self-confidence. It builds a professional image. It saves you time. These are all reasons we make an appointment. It helps you to remain flexible, and it improves long-term relationships. I cannot tell you how many long-term relationships I formed from one appointment, and how many failures I've had from just pitching up, where the person has been annoyed because I haven't taken them seriously because I've just pitched up. Okay, so we've spoken all about planning. Let's take a bit of a step back, and what should our objectives be in the sales call? We've planned to make a call, and what should our objectives in this call be? Now, all objectives should be measured by the term SMART. The S stands for either simple or specific. Simply specific is the way I always remember it. It's got to be measurable. So measurable means this is what I want to get out of the appointment. It's not worth saying, I want to sell him something. I want to sell him one product, or I want to sell him 3 products, or I want to make another appointment. It's something quantifiable. It's measurable. The next thing, what the A stands for, is attainable. It doesn't help to give yourself a goal that is absolutely unreachable. I want to go in there, I've made an appointment, and I want to sell him R1 million worth of product. It's absolutely unattainable. Finally, there has to be a time frame. How much time do I allow myself for these objectives? I want to run the Comrades. Can I run the Comrades? Is that realistic? Well, probably not now, but in 2 years' time, yes, it's specific. I can run the Comrades. It's simple enough. Is it measurable? Yes, it's the Comrades. It's 96 kilometers. Is it attainable? Well, yes, there's probably millions of people that have run it in the past. Maybe I can, provided I train. That is attainable, provided I play the game, provided I do the rules, provided I plan. It is attainable, and that is the attainable bit. Is it realistic? Yes, if I do it in 3 years' time and I train. And then is the last bit that we often forget, is the time frame. By when can I run the Comrades? In 3 years' time. It doesn't help if I say to myself, I'm going to run the Comrades. That's not realistic. So you set yourself realistic goals and you put a time frame. If you're a salesperson, a time frame, I want to sell 20 units per month. I want to reach my target of 200,000 Rand at the end of the year. All right. So those are SMART goals. Let's go back to planning the sales call. Very important thing before you make your appointment, you need to gather information about the person that you're going to see. You need to gather as much information about the organization, the person, the type of buying they're going to do, the needs that they will have. Before you approach somebody, it's not just to know what is their name and if they're the buyer and if they've got the means, those 3 factors we talked about in the beginning. You need to understand a whole lot about their buying behavior. Learn as much about the person that you're prospecting as possible so that you come well prepared. You don't want to sit in front of that person and not be prepared, not know what their needs are. Remember, selling is satisfying needs. So you want to know as much as you possibly can about them. And where do you find this information? Well, today with the internet, it's really easy. And also industry sources. There's so much available out there. Another thing that often is overlooked is the buyer in an organization. Some buyers in organizations like to use technology. So you have to speak to them in the language that they like to be spoken to. If they want to be sold within a technological background, then best you do it. If you're not capable to do that, then find somebody that can. There's nothing wrong in taking somebody along with you. You, the salesperson, plan accordingly. We want to chat about 2 approaches today. The textbook talks about 8 approaches. It's not necessary to discuss all of them because some of them are pretty straightforward. But there are 2 approaches I'd like to just mention, and sometimes we get confused between the 2. The one is a dramatic approach, and the other one is a shock approach. Trelleborg uses both of them very successfully. The first one is the dramatic approach, where Trelleborg had that ad where they have the trolley door closed and there's a big swinging ball, and the swinging ball bangs on the trolley door. The shock approach is when you shock somebody into a realization, and almost put fear into them. You know, the insurance companies say to you, have you considered if you would die in an accident tonight, what would happen to your children? That is the shock approach. And both those ways of approaches are still relevant today. So please understand them and think if you can use them in your own industry and if they're relevant in your industry. There's a concept I'd like to discuss with you in your sales approach. It's called AIDA. It stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. You're sitting in front of your client, you've made the appointment, now what? Now you've got to do a presentation. In the back of your head, you're going to use good old AIDA. The first thing is gain their attention. The approaches, shock method, gain their attention. Second of all, get their interest. Intention is one thing, now you've got to get their interest. You're a salesperson, you've got a story to tell, you've got something exciting, gain their interest. The interest has to lead into desire because sales develop from desire. And then the desire will lead into action, and action is a purchase. Or if it's not a purchase, it should lead into a promise to purchase or into some other type of action. It depends on your goal. If your goal was for them to purchase, then that's the action. If your goal was for them to make another appointment or whatever your goal was, then that is the action. Okay, so AIDA, you gain their attention, you get their interest, and this is why I wanted to show you the two types of approaches because they're very good at AIDA. Then you lead it into a desire. I must tell you that shock approach really makes me want to rush out and buy insurance.